So here's a question. Where does that kind of unborrowed vision, where does that kind of clarity and confidence and vision come from? Is it just your gut? Is it just something you kind of make up? Well, that brings me to the second part of my dad's strengths. The second part is his ability to think very critically. And when you try to figure out where does confidence and clarity in a vision come from, for Dad, it doesn't come just from his gut. It comes because he did his homework. And let me give you a couple examples. My dad worked for a long time with this guy. Jim Kiltz is probably the most storied consumer goods CEO of the last 50 plus years in America. These are some of the brands that he ran as CEO: Nabisco, Kraft, Oscar Mayer, and Gillette. He was offered the position as the CEO worldwide for Coca-Cola and turned it down. My dad worked with Jim Kiltz for more than 20 years, and this is a quote from Jim about Verdis. He said, "I worked with Verdis for over 20 years, and during that time, I grew to appreciate his capabilities and innate ability to do what? To simplify the complex situation and to think strategically." Here's one of the greatest CEOs in American history, definitely in the last 100 years, who spent day-to-day time with my dad for more than 20, saying Verdis' superpower was critical thinking, vision. He's a strategist. From those relationships, my dad gave me the advice: think, use your mind, outthink people. From those relationships with Jim and all that experience, he came up with what is his strategic link process: how to think critically and build a plan that you can execute and win. In that planning process, I'll highlight number one for you is the industry and market assessment. Alan, Sue, handful of others, Trish, Denny, Rosemary, those that were here at the very beginning, Chuck and Tammy, you guys will remember, my dad used to throw up slides that looked like this. It was like, do you guys realize that global direct sales are $167 billion in 2012? This is back in 2012. Verdis is a strategist. He's like, look at this curve. Then he says, do you realize that there's 90 million people in the direct sales industry worldwide? 90 million people, and it's going up every year? He used to put together facts pages like, Tyler, look at this. Network marketing, 90 million people, 15.6 in the United States, 1 in every 9 households. Now remember, this is 2014. We were just barely starting to go outside the US. He said, Tyler, every week more than 45,000 people in the United States sign up as a network marketer, and 150,000 people every single week around the world. And he said, Tyler, this is incredible. Look at this industry. My dad has said to me on more than a dozen occasions, Tyler, I wish I found network marketing 40 years ago. He goes, this is incredible. This business is utterly incredible. Now, what was he really doing here? And stay with me on what he was doing. My dad was a strategist. He was looking at the world around him saying, this is going to go. Not only that, he would pivot and say, let's look at trends around the world. The fourth step in his process, he goes, I'm going to go out and look for trends. Alan, do you remember his presentations, mega trends? My dad would sit there, and there were people in the audience like, what in the world is this man talking about? But my dad would say, Tyler, look at this. The world population is exploding. And I'd be like, so what? And he'd be going, you don't get it, do you? You're not really smart. And then he would say, when you add world population growing and people are getting older, and then I'd be like, keep going, Dad. Peel the onion for me. And then he says, well, if you add exploding world population and aging people, they're stressing the environment. They're stressing the way people get food. They're stressing the physical ecosystems that have existed for millennia. And I'm like, keep going, Dad. You're doing great. Then he says to me, Tyler, people are declining in health. He used to throw up statistics. Chuck, do you remember he'd throw up these statistics all the time about the challenges in people's health around the world? And he said, Tyler, these are mega trends. These aren't trends happening in the United States. These are happening in Taiwan, in Australia. They're happening in Canada. They're happening all across Europe. These are true mega trends that deserve our attention. He went on to say, you know what else, Tyler? Healthcare cost is going up. People can't afford to pay for it. And then he goes, and guess what? Governments have too much debt. And you might look and say, really? Is this a network marketing event? We're talking about all these mega trends? But what was he doing? My dad was saying all of these trends point to one thing. It points to ASÄA.